What's going on, everybody? This is Christopher Bartley here, and I'm with a special guest. This is Robert YB Youngblood, who's on my left. And listen, before I go into the intro, I just want y'all to know this man is the truth. This man is the truth. So, for those of you just tuning in, this is the What's Your Story interview slash coaching session. AYB, listen, I still haven't figured out how this thing is framed. But what we will do is we will be going through YB's founder or purpose story. And for those of you that are new to this thing, here's what we're going to be doing. And then after we talk about that, YB, I'm going to give the floor, read your intro, and just give the floor to you to share anything that you'd like before we begin. But let's just switch over here. For those of you, if this is your first time tuning in, so the What's Your Story process, it's a popular 7 plot point formula where we first delve into, and we're going to go into YB's backstory. Okay. And with the backstory, we're dealing with the journalistic who, what, when, where, how, why, and just really figuring out where it is as a context of his beginning. It humanizes him as an individual. It gives, once again, a context of where he's what he's doing. And then we get to the next piece, which is the catalyst. Catalyst is like the call to adventure. It allows you to explore the seed that was planted for something great to happen. And then we hit from the catalyst to the big event, guys. This is the life-changing moment. It can be positive, it can be negative. And this is once again another event or another milestone that allows YB to choose, make a decision as to what he should do next. Most times, and for great stories, it's usually the midpoint. This is where we hit the point of no return. This is where he is deeply motivated to do the thing that he was typically called to do or inspired to do in the catalyst phase. After the event, after the midpoint, this is where he says, okay, I'm all in. I'm ready to do this. Let's go. Then crisis hits. This is what causes YB to question whether or not he made the right decision. And if he does this right, which we know he does because that's why he's on the show, he is going to hit the climax, which is the final showdown. Typically for founders, it's between them and themselves to answer the question, do they have what it takes? Do they have what it takes to win? And then we hit the realization. This is the conclusion of the entire matter. And in many cases, for a founder story, it's the actual business, the entity, the enterprise was built and it is being sustained. And for a purpose story, it's simply that you are embracing and you are living out the purpose, not just a dream, but the purpose that you've been called to. All right, guys. And then after that, we hit the life application where YB is going to show us 5 principles that he believes we can extrapolate from his personal story so that we can apply it to our own lives. All right. So for those of you that don't know who Robert T. YB Youngblood is, he's the Chief Connecting Officer of YB Connects, which is a relationship and referral marketing firm that focuses on enhancing the visibility, credibility, and profitability of entrepreneurs. Now, in many circles, he's known as I got to say the article has to be not the, but the LinkedIn locksmith because of his ability to, all caps, guys, unlock the advantages of LinkedIn for entrepreneurs. Now, his clients hire him to transform their LinkedIn profiles into powerful prospect magnets that turn connections into. Hey, listen, I just got to cut in here. I've been just say it's where the money resides, bro. We talk about this is where LinkedIn is where the money resides. So to turn connections into cash flow and teach them how to leverage LinkedIn to create awareness, number 1, empower leaders, number 2, promote philanthropy, number 3, and number 4, make connections that lead to outstanding outcomes. YB, how are you doing, man?
I am truly, truly blessed by the best, and I'm excited about being here with you on your platform, Chris.
Awesome, man. I'm excited as well. So let me just go ahead and like I promised, I'm just going to go ahead and switch over here, YB, and I want to share this to our page. And I think you probably already done that. So let me just go ahead and do that so that we can all be on the same page here. And I'm just going to close out of that. And okay, YB, let's go ahead and dive in to your story. Now, before we do, is there anything that you want to add in? Any maybe new developments? I know we're going to do that at the end, but I also want to give, just kind of an organic feel so that it's not just really more an interview as much as it is a conversation. Anything you want to talk about before we just go head in, or you just want to go dive in? It's up to you, man.
No, man. No, man. I want to share what I told you before we got started, man. I'm pretty excited to be a part of a new family. I was a part of the Android squad for quite a while, and I still am. But now my homeboys have really embraced me, being on the dark side. I mean, a part of the iPhone family.
Come
So
to the
now I
dark
feel,
side.
yeah, come to the dark side. Luke, I am your father. You know what I'm saying? But no, I'm excited, man. I feel like one of the cool kids now. Now I can get an invitation to the cookout at Clubhouse.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you don't have an iPhone, bro, you ain't getting invited to the cookout at Clubhouse. You know what
Hey,
I'm saying?
listen. You know, YB, I have not. I mean, I started using Clubhouse, and we got to talk about that because that is another platform to be able
Yeah.
to, yeah, leverage relationships and connections. Hey, true story. So I had an iPhone since 2008, and then about 2 years ago, I switched over to Android. Because of the Google the
Yeah.
ecosystem and all of that,
Mhm.
and I switched back, bro. I switched back December of last year. I said, you know what? Okay, it's time to come back home.
Come
so,
on home.
so
Come on.
come on
When
home.
people say stuff, when people say stuff like that, I envision that Dave Chappelle picture where he's like this and he's like got his hands out and he's telling them to come on home. Come on
Just
back
come
home.
on. Oh man, YV. So listen, let's just dive right into your story. So what we're going to be working on today, I think we mentioned earlier, is going to be your purpose story. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and give us some backstory. And I'm just going to be writing here as you're talking in the notes. So I won't be able to see you, but I'm going to be listening
Mhm.
and just writing anything. If there's anything as you're looking that might seem incorrect, or even as I'm articulating it, by all means, let's
Mhm.
go ahead and correct it because that's part of the process of me showing you what we're actually doing live here. So, story's all yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So, whenever I speak, I always talk about the fact that I'm a native of the Bronx, New York. Grew up in a single parent home. My father was murdered when I was 2, and that is the foundation by which, my life is. It's more of an identity challenge, uh, but it has propelled me to become a compassionate connector. Because when you feel like you lack identity because you don't have a father or you haven't had your physical father, it causes you to look inward and and look at people's situation as if they can overcome because you overcame. So that was one of the biggest struggles that I had growing up, was not having that father. And I've had father figures, but not having my actual father was one of the biggest challenges that I had to endure. However, as I went through high school, I discovered my gift early. And this is where the compassionate part comes in, because a part of my gift is understanding that people have hurts, they have pain, they have challenges, and oftentimes they don't know who to go to and who to give it to. And so while I was in high school, I discovered that I operate like a treasure chest, that people are able to put their hurts, their pains, their challenges inside of, and I hold it close to the breast. And as I began to grow, I realized that that's by operating like a coach, I have the ability to work and build trust with people so that they can essentially get out of their own way. And so I think a big part of my story, starting out having been hurt, having gone through trial and tribulation and overcoming, I'm able to set the stage for other people to be able to overcome as well. And so that's one major part that I would say. And then as we get into the catalyst, I would say transitioning to Richmond, Virginia,
Okay,
was a
before
big
we
part of the
before we get to
catalyst.
the catalyst piece,
Okay,
I
okay,
want to
got
look
it.
at just a little bit more on the
Okay,
backstory. And here's the
okay,
interesting thing, and this is something that I also wrestle with too. Oftentimes with our
yeah,
backstory, and I'm saying this out loud so that those of us who do this,
right,
they'll also pull from it. We have a
yeah,
a, a way. And you already know what I'm about to say. We have a way of taking immediately the backstory and connecting it already to the realization piece. Right?
Right,
It's just in us. It's
right,
just in us to do it. I do it as well. So what I want to do is, in
yeah,
order for people to still see you as YB and not YB
mhm,
the connector just yet, let's sit in
right,
the backstory just a little bit more. So Bronx, New York native,
okay,
single parent home. You know, your father died when you were two. I put here that you lack the sense of identity because of not having a father, but you were able to empathize with other people's situations. So that's great.
mhm,
Let's talk about a little bit more, as comfortable as you are with how the gap. And you mentioned it a little bit, but not as
yeah.
coach, but as YB. How were you able to manage, or how did you even cope with having a mother but no father, and yet still being able to be on, in a sense, a paternal figure? Which is
Yeah,
ironic, right? You
yeah,
don't
it
have the
is.
paternal figure. You have paternal figures, but then you're able to project. And I don't even want to say project, but and that's why it's such a calling. But to be a paternal figure for others, even though you didn't have a biological um, father. Yeah, let's kind of sit in that for a little bit, and
Yeah,
kind of.
no, I love that. First of all, I appreciate the challenge. You know, I think the beauty of this situation is you're right. You know, I tell my story so much at certain places that I probably don't pull out. So you by having you get to draw those pieces out. So I say that, you know, looking at my mom was is still a very smart lady. What she did was she put me in environments where positive men were. So, for example, got me involved in scouting, and as a result of getting involved in scouting, I actually learned core principles. I learned values. Within the scouts, they have the scout law and the scout oath, and those were values that have actually stayed with me for life. And so, understanding that a scout is trustworthy and loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Like those are the laws, right? Those are the laws of scouting. It's amazing how at 42 I still know those things, right? But that's because it's been interwoven into my psyche and into my life. You know, there's a reason why I was able to get out of the Bronx without being incarcerated or, you know, just dealing with a lot of stuff that people from my hood have been through, and I think it was the values, and then being exposed to men who uh, operated with character and integrity. And so even though I didn't have my earthly father, I had men who represented those values both inside of scouting and outside of scouting who helped me to develop those areas that were undeveloped as a result of not having that father, if that makes sense.
No, that's really good. That's really good. How would you then see using the scouting as a pivotal, almost maybe not pivotal, but a pillar in what shaped you as the man that you are, being surrounded by other men who are positive and who were men of virtue or valor? How did that now connect to you being able to reflect that in high school? Because I think that's interesting. Where you said high school, you said, okay, I know what it is. Scouting happened before high school, yeah?
Yeah, so it happened. Well, scouting happened during high school. So it was like
Okay.
middle school to high school, and then after a certain age, you kind of like age out. You know what I mean? They talk about the fumes, perfume and car fumes. Well, and if you grow up in the Bronx, you really don't need any car fumes. The only car fumes you have is the bus. You ride the bus and take the train. You don't really need a car. But the perfumes, yeah, you got to get distracted by the ladies. It's a wrap. Um, but I would say the correlation is that when I got to high school, so one thing to also consider is that I went to Catholic school from fourth grade to 12th grade. So what I'm learning in scouting and what I'm exposed to in school are values, right? So values, morals, principles, spirituality. You know, I mean, at that time it was more so religion, but then, you know, starting to realize that the relationship that I needed was, so by connecting with God the Father, that was the relationship that I needed that was missing because I didn't have the physical, you know, the earthly father, if that makes sense. So by being in high school, I was in a position that when I was being exposed to the religion of Christianity, right, or Catholicism, which, you know, obviously you go to Catholic school, they expose you to Catholicism, um, and then also going to a Baptist church, so being all the way confused, but realizing that there was this opportunity to receive a spiritual healing that was necessary to bridge the gap from what was gone from not having that earthly father, if that makes sense. This is one of the first times that I'm ever like really putting all this stuff to words. So this is very therapeutic. If anything, it's more like a therapy session. So we operate on live therapy sessions. So I'm saying this to you as how this could be of value to others, because it's very therapeutic to be able to tell this story and break it down in this manner, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I'm going to put here that, you know, from scouting, because scouting is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is a faith-based organization, right? I believe, right? The Scouts.
No, not really. So
No, they're not?
they
Okay.
it appeals. No, scouting. Yeah, scouting appeals to all faiths, man, and
Okay.
that was actually one of the most beautiful things about scouting.
So it
Was
wasn't
that
inherently
it appealed to
faith-based.
all. Yeah, it wasn't faith based, but it was value
Okay.
based. So I think the challenge for a lot of people is when they
Gotcha.
think about something that's religious, they don't realize that, you know, you can have values and it not be faith based,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
but faith based encompasses values, but just having values doesn't mean that is faith based. So like if you think about
Right.
a company has a set of values and principles that they operate by, but it doesn't mean that they cater to a specific faith for that particular organization. Now they
Right.
could, but in the case of scouting promotes timeless values, and they have and I mean, as you look at it, it could be seen as being tied in with the Christian faith. But the beauty of my scouting experience was that my scout master was Jewish,
Mm.
Mr.
Okay.
Ed Lehman, Edward Lehman. He and his wife, Miss Lehman, was the math teacher at my elementary school. She used to make popcorn for us and twist our ear if we was acting up. But Mr. Ed Lehman, Mr. and Mrs. Lehman, they were Jewish.
Mm.
So that's why I could say with confidence that it wasn't just like catering to one
Right.
particular faith, if that makes sense.
So that's good. So I put here, and you mentioned it, but now we even have even more context with who led you as in the Scout organization, a Jewish Scoutmaster,
Mhm.
Catholic prep
Mhm.
school, Baptist church.
Yeah,
Any other
yeah.
pieces that I might have missed, which is helping to fortify a diverse
Oh,
yet
so
strong spiritual base and
oh
values.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So then I go to it. Then so I mean, if I'm allowed to fast forward, then I go to a HBCU and I get exposed to Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. You know, not that I joined the Nation of Islam, but when you get into Malcolm, you start understanding blackness, and then you start understanding, those things, and then you start questioning. So when I went to HBCU, I was totally confused, man. But I think the beauty of it was that confusion prompted me to ask more questions, and it then it made why I was so inquisitive as a kid. Right,
mhm.
when I was a kid, I would always ask my mom questions, and her response was, "What do I look like, an encyclopedia?" As a matter of fact, she bought the encyclopedia, and she would tell me to go look in the encyclopedia, which was good because what it did was it said, don't rely on one individual for all of the answers.
Yeah.
right? Go get the information yourself, which was
Yeah,
helpful for me because I never was gullible. I was always like, okay, that don't make no sense. Let me go get some more information to verify what I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Trust but verify. Yeah, trust but
Trust but
verify.
verify. I like that. I like that. Let's now get to the catalyst. This is good. I like this slant or this perspective of the backstory. And for those of you still watching, listen. There are so many different ways that you can explain and share your context. Um, Today, we're taking the version or the perspective of YB being exposed to multiple value and faith based systems that allowed him to not fortify that really encouraged his inquisitiveness as a child, which then I'm thinking is going to lead to our call to adventure here. So let me push up and zoom over here into
Yeah.
the catalyst.
Yeah. So when we talk about the call to adventure, it actually starts the summer before I go to college. So you're talking about 1996, the summer before I go to college. Um, I was denied an opportunity to return to an organization that provided me with an internship the year before. And the reason why was because I received a full scholarship to Virginia Union University, which is an HBCU in Richmond, Virginia. And so as a result of getting this full scholarship, I had to leave to go to school earlier than the program that I was supposed to be in uh, before it ended. And the executive director decided, well, if you're not going to be here for the full time of the summer, then there's no use in you being a part of it this summer. So I was denied that opportunity. But there's always a blessing in disguise. There's always a blessing in disguise. As a matter of fact, my story is full of these situations where I get denied, and instead of me getting down in the dumps for a long period of time, and I say that on purpose, I get down in the dumps, but instead of me getting down in the dumps for a long period of time, I end up finding another route. And that other route then leads me to something greater than I lost. And so here's where this first time it happened. So because I was denied this opportunity with this summer program, I started working as a street messenger in New York City, where I would deliver packages throughout Manhattan. And one day, I delivered a package to 160 Varick Street, right? 160 Varick Street. And when I delivered this package there, I remembered that one of the other couriers said that 160 Varick Street was the headquarters for Def Jam. Right. And for those of you who don't know what Def Jam is, and Chris, you may not know who Def Jam is, but
Come
it
on
was
now.
the I just want to make sure, man. I'm saying everybody, you I don't know. I don't want to front like you know, man. You know what I'm saying? But all right, so now you know, right? So Def Jam. Um, Method Man, LL Cool J, Redman, all those folks. So I ended up going there and I met the national director of marketing, and he was responsible for the street team. His name was Rob Love. And I had a conversation with Rob Love, and he asked me if I was interested in an internship. And keep in mind, I was denied the opportunity to be in an internship. So when he offered me the opportunity to be a part of his street team, I did something that I was taught never to do. I called the courier company that I was working with, and I quit over the phone. I told them I'll come by some other day and pick up my check. Why? Because I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity. And so for 3 weeks before I went to college, I had the best experience of my life. And that's when I discovered that I had this gift of promotion.
Mm.
Right? I didn't know, I didn't know about the connecting part at that time, but I knew I had the gift of gab, I had the gift of promoting. I love to promote. I love to market. I love being around people. I love sharing. And that exposed me to some things that I'd never been exposed to before. And so I took that experience and I took it to college with me to Virginia Union. And I had a greater sense of self awareness in terms of, the fact that, hey, this is a way that I can open up some doors because I'm in a position to promote. And on top of that, when I got to college, I instantly became the man because I had all the product, right? I had the tapes at the time, that dates me, right? So I had tapes, I had posters, at that time, the Nutty Professor was out. So they had the Nutty Professor album, which was fire. They had this gentleman named Case, where he had on that album Touch Me, Tease Me with Mary J. Blige. Redman, Method Man was fire. LL Cool J was still on top. And so I remember getting to school and I had all of the products. So I was, I had the boom box. I was walking around. They used to call me Radio Rob. And that's how I started attracting people, man. I had the music. And so a big part of this catalyst to why, to me becoming YB was a young lady by the name of Tabitha, who's from Lynchburg, Virginia. And we were having a debate, and the debate was she didn't believe that my last name was Youngblood. As a matter of fact, she asked me for ID so many doggone times it was insulting. And she said, I'm not calling you that, so I'm gonna call you YB. And so I give her the credit for calling me YB. This was in 1996. It's now 2021. So I've been YB for 25 years. Right? And so yeah, that's amazing that I just became, that YB brand, that's
Right.
there. So yeah, so that's that part there. So any other questions to draw? Because I like your style. So I feel like you
Yeah.
help me get clarity.
Yeah. I'm just listening and taking it all in, writing down these notes because I think we have enough. If we had to settle on one particular, and by the way, every story, every person is sophisticated. We're complex, so it's not usually a linear process. So to an extent,
Right.
doing a 7 plot point formula in real life can almost do an injustice if people think that this is the only way to look at someone's life or their story. It
Right.
really is not linear. However, it does give clarity when we do presentations or whatnot because we do think in step one, step two, step three, right? So
Right. Right.
if we had to pinpoint something in here, I would say that the linchpin would be the opportunity that you were given to
Mm-hmm.
intern at Def Jam and then
Mm-hmm.
discovering the gift of promotion, which, like you
Yeah.
said, didn't really fully flourish until we're gonna go next
Yeah. Till I got
to
to
the big
college.
event.
Yeah. Till I got to college, man. Yeah.
So
Till
you
I
got
got
to
to
college.
college. Yeah. Till I got to college. And so
So what now
so
would be your
big.
big event? Yeah.
Oh man. I probably had to fast forward a couple years. I would say my big event was becoming a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
Okay. And what's going to
Right.
help you here
So
is also thinking of your big event in the context of what helped to slingshot you to your midpoint, your point of no return. Okay, I'm all in.
right,
This is, and for this, in this case, it's not
right,
business, it's purpose. So you said becoming a
right.
member of Alpha Phi Alpha.
Yeah. So that's a part of it though. So because the way the
Okay.
story is going to come across is so becoming a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. overcoming. I can't go too deep on what went down, but I had to overcome a major obstacle, which tested my resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it tested my resolve, and so that taught me that in every adversity or every setback, there's an opportunity to come back, right?
Mm.
And so here I am. I went from being, just YB, and then YB the promoter, to then becoming YB the alpha. You know,
Mm. Say that one more
being a
time. I
part of.
like that.
Yeah, so I went from being YB to YB the promoter, right? Then to YB the alpha,
I
right?
like that.
So my identity was tied to a major organization. But what I learned while I was going through the process was that alpha doesn't make you, you make alpha. So you have to bring something to the organization. You don't just want to be YB the alpha, but that's what people would identify me as that, YB the alpha. But the challenge with my situation was, here comes another setback.
Mm.
At the end of so I came into the fraternity, um, uh, spring of 2000, and December 7th, 2000, I was signing my withdrawal papers to leave college. So here I am. I had this fantastic event that took place in the spring of 2000, and at the end of 2000, I'm stopping out of school. It's not dropping out. It's not dropout because I ended up coming back. So I stopped out. But at that time, I didn't know I was coming back. I hit a brick wall emotionally, financially, uh, academically, and it prompted me to make this move. The blessing of this situation, and that's why I said here's the opportunity, was that when I went home, so I ended up going back home, and this is why the alpha piece is so important. Because when I went back home, I received a call from an alpha brother that I did not really know. I knew of him. I mean, he's a legend. He's a legend in our chapter.
Mm.
And he reached out to me because he knew I was coming home. And he said to me, YB, I've got a guy coming to my home to talk about a business, uh, and ways to make some money. Would you like to learn more? Now, here's the thing, Chris, as I look back, I didn't know enough to ask him what was this all about. I wasn't skeptical because he was a legend in our chapter. So I trusted that, hey, just the fact that I could connect with you, I'm there.
Yeah.
And so I travel all the way to his home. And that's when I'm exposed to a business opportunity at that time, was called Quick Star, but it's the Amway business. So I was exposed to a direct sales opportunity, and the gentleman who was speaking, he gave 8 reasons why you would want to be in business for yourself. And I don't remember the first 7, but I remember the first 8. I mean, the last 8, which was to leave a legacy. Okay. And when he said that, literally, I felt like a ton of bricks was dropped on my head,
Mm.
because the first thing I thought about was the fact that my father didn't leave me a legacy.
Mm.
See, I thought that when he died at 2, that at 18 I would get a check or something. Somebody would knock at the door and say, "I got something for you." At 21, "I got something for you." It didn't come then, and it ain't coming. And so when I heard the message and the business, I automatically decided to jump at it because I wanted to be able to leave a legacy. And
Good.
that was a major event for me, and it kind of is on the other side too, but that was when I now picked up the fact that here I was a promoter, right? I didn't know about the connecting part yet, but I was a promoter, um, and I wanted to leave a legacy, and here was a business that would allow me to do both.
Mm, mm,
And so marketing, I always say that if I had the opportunity to go back, I would study marketing and psychology,
mm,
because the majority of what I've been doing in my whole life is focused around marketing and psychology.
mm. Okay. Okay. That's good. So this big event would have been the opportunity to work with. Now, just for those that are listening in, is it accurate to say Amway Quickstar is it an MLM, multi-level marketing business, or do you
Yeah, it
guys
is. Yeah, multi-level.
directly?
Yep, multi-level. Yep, multi-level. Yep, direct. So, I
Okay.
mean, it's multiple people. It depends on who you talk to. Some people are scared to say multi-level. I'm not scared to say it,
Okay.
because ultimately multi-level is just a methoding. Excuse me, a marketing strategy. So,
Mhm.
some people look at the negative aspect of an MLM, but they don't realize that. Uh, you know, most companies run an MLM. They just don't pay the people that promote. Like Clubhouse
Right.
is an MLM,
Mm,
right? They
hmm.
they
Yeah.
they 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 get you to invite your friends,
Yeah.
and then your friends invite their friends. Facebook, multi-level. So it's just it's a multi-level, meaning you are promoting, and then your people are promoting, and then their people are promoting, and everybody's coming
Right.
in off of referrals. The challenge for most people though is that um, there's people that operate in deceptive practices, so it gives it a bad name. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, what it is a company that has a product or service. What they do is they reward people for telling folks about that product or service, and those. So that's
Mhm.
where the foundation of YB Connects was birthed,
Okay.
because I
Okay.
started to understand, number one, there's value in promotion,
Hmm.
right? There's value in promotion. There's value in relationship, right? There's value in promotion, there's value in relationship, and then there is value in having a service or product that can make a difference in people's lives. So if you got something that's valuable, why wouldn't you tell other people about it? And, oh, by the way, you can get paid for telling other people about it,
Right. You know, when I
right?
think about MLMs now, and this is just happening in the conversation because I remember, man, a long time ago, I think I was uh, um, introduced to, I think when Emma became Quickstar, and me
Mm-hmm.
and one of my boys, man, we didn't have the longevity for it.
Yeah.
I think we were still in high school at the time. But that being said, when I think about what you just said, and now for me being on the founder's side, an
Mm-hmm.
MLM, if done properly,
Mm-hmm.
I resonate with the fact that you say people kind of steer away from that because when they hear MLM, they
Mm-hmm.
immediately think of
Mm-hmm.
pyramid,
Yeah,
right?
something shake.
And
Yeah,
so,
pyramids.
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, I think of MLM now from a founder's perspective, where it really is a catalyst to show or to introduce people how it is that
Mm-hmm.
scalable businesses work by
Right.
hiring
Absolute.
other people or
Yep.
recruiting other people.
Absolute.
It's really the quickest
Absolutely.
way to understand
Yeah.
how, if you're going to build a
Yeah.
business, you got to get.
Yeah.
I tell
Yeah.
you
You
this,
got to
YB.
get
If I
people.
stuck with
You
it,
got to get people. Yeah.
yeah, if I stuck with it, I probably would have scaled out quicker now than
Yeah.
before because the mentality would be, okay, I have this vision,
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
resources, I need
Yeah.
people to be
Yeah.
able to not just make the money, no,
Yeah.
to be able to build a thing out and to reach more people. So I like the fact
Yeah.
that you brought that out because it is a catalyst. So for anybody
Yeah.
that's watching right
It's
now,
definitely a catalyst. Yeah, it's definitely a
yeah,
catalyst. But it does require a mindset change, and that's where the educational systems come in, because the
mm,
average person has not grown up in a home where people talked about entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
person who owns a business knows that in order for you to build a business, you've got to recruit people, period.
Mm. Yeah.
You got to recruit people. That's why you have an HR. That's why you have human resources.
Yeah.
The function
Yeah.
of a human resources is to get the right people in the organization to
Right.
fulfill certain tasks in that particular organization. Well, the beauty of an
Yeah.
MLM is that everybody can come in with the same
Mhm.
whatever level of insight and talent or no insight and talent. They just have to have one common thread, and that's the desire for more. You feel what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you gotta have this desire for more,
Mm.
because if you don't, you're not gonna get paid because you're not gonna talk to people to promote your product or your opportunity.
Right.
You feel what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So
Right.
even in our business now, so in your case, right? So now you are in one place and you're broadcasting, and
Mm-hmm.
whoever picks up this information, if they're like, you know what, this is pretty interesting, it makes
Right.
it easy for you because now they can approach you
Right.
because you decided to be visible. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, and I even share this with you guys in the LinkedIn recommendation challenge, right? If
Yeah.
people don't know you exist, how can they pay you, right?
How
But the
can they?
same thing,
Yeah.
how can they pay you, right? But if people don't know you exist, how can they join your team? How can they come to your
Mhm.
company
Right.
if no one recruits them?
Mm. So let's take that. Let's hinge on that point here. Is this where, and I put here YB Connects is born, but that may not be the midpoint. What is the
Yeah,
midpoint? Is it when
yeah,
you realize, okay, I need to find people just like I'm doing for Quick Start. I got to do this for my business, or but let's transition to how you go from now leaving a
yeah,
legacy and being YB the
yeah,
connect the promoter and the person who is now able to leave a legacy to your all-in moment where you say, okay, I'm ready to shift. Is
yeah.
this accurate? If it's not, it's okay. I'll erase it.
No, it's not. Yeah,
But
it's
what
not.
happened?
It's not at that point because why? Yeah, YB Connects wasn't even a thought of. Wasn't. I mean, I had all. I had a. I had a myriad of. I had a bunch of business type ideas because of this exposure.
Yeah.
But I will say that the midpoint was me coming back to school.
Okay.
Because remember,
Okay.
I said that I stopped out. I didn't drop out. Right.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
left school at the end of 2000, and I came back in
Mm,
2002. And I had a total different mentality because of the exposure to this opportunity. One thing I did not mention was while I was, let me make sure I got this right. Yeah. While I was out of school, I experienced some major more setback,
mm.
right? Now, what happened in 2001? 9/11.
Oh
Where did I
yeah. Right.
live? I lived in New York.
Right.
Where
Right.
was
Right.
I on
Right.
9/11? I was coming out of a train station to
Mm.
see the North Tower with a gaping hole in it. So that experience
Mm.
and surviving it made an impression on me. I did. So you talking about direct sales? Like Amway is
Wow.
nothing compared to this type of sales we did
Mm.
when I was home, literally rolling up on people and attempting to sell. So I began to develop those sales skills, those communication skills. Um, and I worked at a bank. I went through so much during that 18-month period, you know. And but what the lessons that I got from that was number one.
Well, wait, hold on, wait. Don't
I'm,
do no lessons. Hold on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wait,
I won't do no lesson. I won't do no lesson. I won't do no lesson.
I
So
know it's
anyway,
hard. It's
but
hard
what
for
I'm
me.
saying is
Yeah.
those no no those situations,
Mm.
and remember I talked about the resolve, prompted
Right.
me to say I need to finish what I started, and
Mm.
I went back to Richmond, went back to Virginia Union, and when I got back, I said I'm gonna be here. I'm only gonna be here for 2 years. Like I literally told myself this. Now you hear me say peace and blessings now. I was ultra peace and blessings. Like everywhere I went. Matter of fact, I said peace and blessings so much that when I got back to school, remember I told you I was YB the promoter and then YB the alpha. They called me the peace and blessings guy. I said peace and blessings so much.
So
Literally,
different.
that's like, you know this dude YB. Oh, who you talking about? The peace and blessings guy? Yeah, that's him. And so coming back, um, still YB the alpha, still the peace
Mhm.
and blessings guy. Now with this greater understanding of sales, relationship building, communication, still having this desire to own something, but just because here's another part I didn't share. I only lasted in the Amway business at that time or Quickstar 6 months,
Mm, mhm, mhm,
probably less than that.
mm.
Probably less than that. I had a lot of fear and doubt.
Okay.
Um, and so get back to school, make the decision that I was going to finish in 2 years,
Mm,
and in 2004 I finished college. Okay.
mm. Okay.
And now here's the beauty part, right? So we're gonna get over the hurdle. You're about to see the connection.
Okay.
When I graduate from college, I have another fraternity brother
Mm,
who approaches me 3 different times. He says, "Brother Youngblood, I got something I want to share with you. Brother Youngblood, I got something I want to share with you." I never told him no,
mm,
but I never made time for him. When I graduated from college, I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything lined up. I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I called brother James Allen up and I said, "Come on over." He came to my apartment with my rented furniture. He sat on my rented couch and he pulled out a catalog,
mm,
and it was a Quick Start catalog.
mm,
And we didn't even talk about business. He talked about life.
mm,
He talked about his experience in the army. He talked about the fraternity. He talked about his experience as a CPA, and all I could see going back to my upbringing was a man with character, a
mm,
man with integrity, a man with principle, a man with values, sitting there in my living room, sharing an opportunity with me. And my response was, "What do I do next?" Because what
mm,
I wanted had nothing to do with the business. I wanted the mentorship,
mm,
right? And so he brings me to a meeting where I see a gentleman who's a former football coach sharing his business plan. It was way different than what I saw the first time. Because keep in mind, I wasn't really impressed with the guy who was speaking. All I heard was legacy, and I was like, "Let's go."
That's it.
But this time, when I came in, I saw a team. I saw a
Mm,
team, and I saw, I understood the plan a little bit better, and I went from sitting with Brother Allen on a Tuesday to go into a meeting on a Thursday to signing up on a Saturday, and to this day, I still own my Amway business,
mm.
and that was in 2000. That was in 2004.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
the beauty of that situation, Chris, was because of that vehicle, I met my wife.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Let's
yeah,
do
yeah,
this. Let's do this because we got some untangling to do now. We got a little bit of
yeah.
untangling to
Untangle,
do.
untangle.
um,
Help me untangle.
because we need the moment that that you say, okay, I'm deeply invested. According to what we have so far, the deep investment to go all in as far as purpose is when you went back to
Mm-hmm,
school and you decided to finish
mm-hmm,
school and then reintroduced to Quickstar and interested in
mm-hmm.
the mentorship piece. You saw a team when you were invited because you didn't see a team before. I'm going to put that uh,
Right.
didn't see team
Yeah, I
before.
didn't see a
Well,
team. I didn't see a team before.
right. And you started
Yeah.
your own team, which you still have
All I
today.
saw, all I saw, right.
So now I'm looking at the crisis, when is the moment, and this is what I think is going to inform the
Mhm.
midpoint a little bit more.
Mhm.
When is the moment when you said, okay, am I really YB the promoter? Am I really
Yeah,
YB the alpha? Am I
yeah,
really the peace and blessings guy? Now, the reason why we want to go there is
yeah,
because your midpoint might shift or it might get more specific.
yeah,
Um, and we might be able to cut out some of the, because all of this is good, but um,
yeah.
when you get the final thing, I'm only gonna have so much space to put in
Oh yeah,
the
no
core thing, and
question.
then
I see you. I see you struggling trying to get all that stuff fit in there. So I know you're gonna cut some things up. It's all
I have to.
good.
So let's reverse
But you
engineer.
know, so just a sidebar. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say just a sidebar. It's kind of like you throw everything out there and then you cut back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I appreciate you, you know, having me put all this stuff out there. Um, so I will say, so at the same time that I get started with the Amway business, I actually I do get a job, you know. So brother Allen introduces me to my business mentor, and I was so here's the thing: I wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur. Wanted to be a
Okay.
full-time entrepreneur at that time. And I remember sitting down with my business coach. His name is John, and I sat down with and I had all these ideas of who would invest in my idea, this person in this business, this person they would invest. And I remember John looking at me and said, "I don't know about those other guys, but I'm not giving you a dime."
Mm,
And I ain't gonna
mm,
lie, I was ticked off. I was ticked off um, because I wanted to be this entrepreneur. And this is what he told me. He said, "You need to get a job." And that was the thing I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to be this entrepreneur. And so I ended up getting a job. I ended up working for a nonprofit organization called the Boy Scouts of America. All right. So it comes back. And as a result of working with
hold
the
on,
Boy
wait,
Scouts, that's
hold on, wait a minute.
yeah,
Wait a minute, YB. So just so that people know, the same scouts we were talking about in the backstory is the same scouts we're talking about right now, Boy Scouts of America. Just want people to know.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Okay, that
And this
full
part is
circle.
very important because during this
Mm,
experience, yeah, during this experience, this is where I discovered LinkedIn.
mm,
Okay. So I was in a working for a nonprofit in a
mhm,
sales role, and I discovered
mhm,
LinkedIn, and that's when I realized that this was a CRM or a customer relationship management tool. So every time I met someone, I began to put them in my LinkedIn network. And so the lessons that I was learning in building my Quickstar Amway business and
mm,
understanding marketing and networking, I
mm,
began to apply that in what I was doing for the Boy Scouts, but then leveraging LinkedIn as a means of building my network, right?
mm.
Okay, so it's all connected, and that's why.
Yeah.
So I want to get to the crisis real quick, if it's possible, because so I worked in nonprofit from 2004
Mm,
to 2012.
okay.
Okay, and there was a nonprofit that I was working with for about 6 months, and so I was only with the Boy Scouts for 5 months. I mean, for 5 years, but then I worked for another organization, a couple of organizations. So from 2004 to 2009, I was with the Scouts, and then after that, I was at a couple other organizations. But in 2012,
Mhm.
the nonprofit that I was working with, they laid me off. I had never been laid off before in my life. I took it personal. It hurt
Mm,
me. I felt rejected, dejected.
mm,
Um, and as I was leaving the building for the last time, August 15th, 2012 is like 9/11, and like just stands out.
mm.
I had tears on my face, and I did the one thing that I learned to do when I was a kid, and when I had adversity, and that was to pray.
Mm,
And this was my prayer. I prayed to God that He would deposit within me something that would allow me to live for Him while utilizing my gifts and talents to be a blessing to others. And this is when YB Connects was born, literally.
mm, mm. Okay.
Right? God deposited the name YB Connects into my spirit. Why? Why? Because it was a combination of who I am, which is YB, and my gift, which is connecting people.
Mm, okay. Okay.
And as a result of that situation, I then was in a position to be in business for myself,
Mm,
and I started to use the one tool that I was efficient in, and that was LinkedIn.
mm. Okay. Okay. So we've got some okay. We've got some cleaning up to do here because I think we might
Mm-hmm.
have everything, unless there's more to the story. I think we might have everything to kind of stretch
No,
these over.
there's
There's, of course, there's more,
yeah.
right? um, started to use um, um, previous NPO. Okay, so and I just shortened that for now, but okay, because what we've got right
Mm-hmm.
now is we've got there are technically two crises. There's one that is your and by the way, so we're at 708. So this one is a little bit more. I think this one is a little bit more nuanced because I believe YB this is our first purpose story that's being done live. So I think most are founder
Got
stories.
it.
I believe this is our first purpose, which then is why a lot of it needs to kind of be contextualized, not for you building something, but you realizing something in yourself and going all in. And this is why I think we've got some multiple points here, because one of
Right.
the crises could be when you were challenged to get a job instead of working. When you're challenged to get a job instead of being a full-time entrepreneur, that could be a
Yeah,
crisis. Um,
absolutely. That
the
was
other
definitely a
crisis
crisis. Yeah.
Right. The other crisis could be when you actually started working for an MPO, but then you got laid off. And so here's what we're gonna do. I think what we're gonna have to do is we are going to use this piece right here. Your climax could very well be, unless I'm wrong, and just let me know because I don't want to mess up the accuracy of your story here, could be when you look to God, you had an introspective moment, and then you also looked to God and said, okay, God, I want you to deposit in me something that would allow me to live for you while utilizing my talents to live for others. The climax here would be, and this is my suggestion, the climax would be you understood that whether if it's full-time, whether if it's entrepreneurial, whatever it was, you have it within you to do the thing that you want, that he wants you to do. Like it
That's
doesn't matter what
exactly right.
context you're in, you're like, okay, it's me.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
um so if that's the case, then this could work as the climax, but it only works if there's no more left to the story.
So I will say this. So as you're talking, what I envision is multiple waves.
Yeah, of
So
course.
this
Yeah,
this this yeah, so it's like this, you're gonna have multiple crises. You got
yeah,
multiple climate, you know what I'm saying? Because you literally as you're living, because
yeah,
even that, like even this situation, there's another major crisis
yeah,
that led to another climax, that led to another realization. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
so
yeah,
I would
yeah,
say this was the big one, but it was another wave. And I'm sure that, as I continue to live, there'll be, matter of fact, even as recent as 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
there was another crisis and situation or whatever. But this would be the first, the first major one
And I
for
think
me.
that's
So
important. That is important because
Yeah.
what we want to do is we want our audience to be able to pull away, because they're only going to be able to pull away the first one anyway, or the most memorable, the
Right.
stickiest one
Right.
anyway. Even though in
Right.
real life there are waves. So would you say that being fired or laid off from the nonprofit organization, would
Hmm.
that have been the most memorable? And I know it's hard. I know it's hard, especially when there are waves and each
Hmm.
one serves its purpose.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
which one would you say was the, I know it's going to be difficult, but which one would you say would be the most, at least for this narrative here in this version that
Hmm.
we have, because we have multiple versions, is the most
Hmm.
memorable or the most pivotal crisis that pushes you to your true purpose of the prayer, where you're like, okay, all right, God,
Yeah, yeah, no, it was the layoff. It was definitely the layoff. It was definitely
okay,
the layoff because had the layoff not happened,
hmm,
I would not have because for me. So here's the thing: for me at that time, most people are taught, this your job and you having a job is security and everything like that. And I had to learn that that's not the case. But I also had to learn that me working for a company that that it wasn't personal.
yeah,
I took it
yeah,
personal because I didn't know any better. It wasn't until afterwards that I had this lesson that they the position that I held. Number one, I had to stop saying was my job.
hmm hmm
I had to stop taking possession of something that wasn't mine. I didn't create it.
hmm
I was filling a role
hmm
that was put into a business plan that was connected to an income statement that was an expense. So when a company is not have enough money, what do? They cut expenses, right? So I didn't know that. I took it personal because I didn't realize that this was business. And when I had time to reflect, what I realized was that was the best situation that could have happened because it revealed a new self.
yeah, yeah.
Had that not happened, I wouldn't have prayed that prayer. Had that not happened, I wouldn't have been given the name YB Connects. Had that not
Amen.
happened, I wouldn't have gone into beginning to speak and coach and train. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff happened as a result of that particular situation.
I like that. So I'm going to put here for the climax that you realize that the NPO job was not your purpose per se, as much as a business position that no longer was needed.
Right.
So the position wasn't needed, not you as a person, but the position. And I think that that
Right.
is helpful with then transitioning
Right.
to, okay, God, you've deposited something in me. How can I use what's
Yep.
in me to go ahead and not just serve you, but to serve other people as well? I think that that could work as our climax.
Yeah.
But let me see. I'm going to put here position
Yeah.
versus person, just so that I can keep that for a mental note. In the
Yeah. I like
when we
that.
do this wrap up. Let's talk about, okay. So two things. We might have to go back just a little
Hmm.
bit and work our way backwards before we get to this realization piece. Crisis.
Hmm.
Paint the
Hmm.
picture just a little bit more. I want people to kind of get a feel for. You worked for
Hmm.
the undisclosed MPO, and I'm sure it's like
Hmm.
that for a
Yeah.
reason, which is fine.
Undisclosed. Yeah.
Yep.
Undisclosed. Yep. Yep.
And they lay you off. Can you give us some? Maybe you can't, but some more context so that people can kind of paint a picture as to what was going on. And when I say going on, I'm not talking about drama as much as just
Hmm.
what you were
Hmm.
doing, how you enjoyed it, maybe, and
Yeah. Yeah.
then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it just
Yeah.
like cut off, like
Yeah.
so we can feel what you felt.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, no, I feel what you're saying because you're right. So the role that I played, I served a dual role.
Okay.
One role, I was responsible for working with college students or high school students who were transitioning to college.
Okay.
And I was responsible for supporting their transition and being a resource for them. So if they needed book money or transportation or, a tutor, I was their guide.
Gotcha.
That's one role that I played. And then the second role was working with high school students to do the same thing. So providing them with access to resources,
Okay.
right?
Oh, so who was the first
You
group
know,
of students? Because I put high school for the first one.
so the first group of students were high school students that were transitioning to college.
To
So they
college.
were like
Gotcha.
first year college students. Yeah, first year college
Gotcha.
students. And the second group were current high school students that they
Ah,
were
okay.
freshmen, sophomores, and juniors.
Okay.
So the first
Excellent.
set of groups, the first set of students were those were transitioning to college, and
Gotcha.
then the second set of students were the students who were um, they were still in high school.
Okay. And you were helping them. What were you helping them do?
Yeah, I was connecting them to resources, whether it was if they needed
Okay.
housing, if they needed tutors, if they needed food. I was the person that was supporting students in terms of connecting them with those resources so that they would not drop out of high school. So the
Gotcha.
organization dropout was a dropout prevention program or organization that focused
Gotcha.
on decreasing the dropout rate. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good. Oh wow, that's really good. And you already know why, as we're making these connections. So I'm gonna put here um,
Mhm.
dropout prevention org. Okay. So paint the picture for us. How the late and maybe there is no picture. Maybe it's just one day they just tap you on the shoulder and say,
Mhm.
"Hey,
Yeah, no. What happened was July of 2012. They let us know that we had this
mm,
situation. We're gonna keep you on for 30 days, and on August 15th, that was the last day.
mm," with no explanation,
Right.
right? It
So
was
it
just like
wasn't.
this is what it is.
Yeah, well, yeah. What they told us, they gave us a letter. They gave us a letter in July. They gave us a
Yeah.
letter, and they said in this letter that you have 30 days to keep this
Mm,
role, and after that, it was a wrap.
mm.
So,
So that's
and so
good.
here's the
So
thing: I still had my Amway business. So when I got the letter initially,
mm,
I didn't really think it was a big deal because I was like, oh, I'm good. I got a business. I'm gonna be okay. But when the event actually happened,
mm,
I was a wreck because I wasn't prepared. I wasn't
mm,
good. I didn't have a plan.
yeah, yeah.
And on
Wow.
top of that, I forgot to put this out there. And on top of
Mm,
that, I was married
mm,
and I had two children.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's do some tying together now. So you're in a position where you are a guide. You're helping individuals. You're helping first year college students. You're helping current high school students to stay in. Ah man, to stay in school. That hit. Do you know why this hits? As I'm reading this now and looking at this, because in your midpoint. You said, I'm going back and I'm going all in to finish school. I don't want these kids to do what I had to do or what I ended up doing.
That's right.
So now you being
That's right.
removed from this position, it's you also realizing that you are no longer you are powerless to help them make the different decisions
That's
or
right.
to give them the resources that you didn't have at the time for to repeat the
Yeah.
cycle that you were able to do.
Yeah.
So
You're
here's the
making you're
crisis.
making it you're making it you're making it sweet, Chris. You're making it real
Man,
sweet.
listen,
I love it. Keep it
listen,
up.
man. Listen. So here's the crisis question. All right, the crisis question is this: if we're going to use that as the context, how do we frame you being fired, or sorry, you being laid off? How do we frame that as the connection to you feeling like you somehow are also letting almost like young YB down again? Or the younger version of you because you are trying to help these students. I'm trying to figure out. This is where we're going to work together on this. What
Well,
is the
so
real
here's what I'll
crisis?
say. Here's what I'll say. It's another form of loss. So it actually goes back to my backstory.
Mm,
Because
mm,
one of the things that I didn't say was I felt like a part of me had died when I got laid off.
mm,
So that gap, that unresolved, so it was really unresolved. Like that, my situation of still not having my father, that was still unresolved. So a
yeah.
part of me had a part of me had died. So I felt like I had suffered a death
Mm.
when that
Why did
happened.
you why did you feel like you suffered a death? Is it because of the purpose that you were embracing helping these students, or was it, what was it
Yes.
that made that? Okay.
Yeah. No, it was that. Yeah, it was that. It felt like, but I felt like because letting me go, I wasn't able to continue to do something that would make an impact on other people.
Uh,
And that's what prompted me to pray that prayer. You
yeah.
know, that's what prompted me to pray that prayer because I wanted to be in a position to impact people.
Okay. So here's the last piece that I think is going to kind of tie it all together here. The crisis question. I call it the crisis question because if you felt like you were in a position to help people, um, to make different decisions because now they have the resources to stay in
Mhm.
school, to complete college, or to complete high school, um, you're now removed from that position. What is the question that you ask yourself that you then here realize the NPO job was not your purpose as much as it was just a business position to fulfill what was already inside of you and what God has deposited inside you? What were you really asking yourself, or maybe asking God, maybe even your wife, when you were laid off? This is the question now. If you answer the question wrong, obviously you don't, but if you answer the question wrong,
Mhm.
you go all the way back to your backstory. If that makes it, like, you go back to you just pack it up.
No,
My wife.
that makes perfect sense. So I would say do I have what it takes to use what I've been given to make something happen? Right? Do I have what it takes? You know, and
Yeah, I'm a,
I never really had the opportunity to answer that question because remember when I
mm,
started the Amway business the second time, I wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur. But what did I end up doing? I ended up getting a job. So I wasn't able
yeah,
to really discover if I had what it took, right?
yeah.
And so when I get
Wow,
laid
wow,
off, it literally pushes me out of the nest to expose me to an opportunity to see if I had what it took.
wow. Okay. And can I maybe add here, if it's, do I have what it takes to use what I've been given to make something happen? And I'm going to put here, instead of make something happen, to um, make a difference
Yeah.
in others' lives. Right? But here's what
Make a
I when I
difference and but impact is important in this part though. To make a
okay,
difference,
to
but to make an impact.
make an
Yeah,
impact.
because to make a difference, you can make a difference, but still not make an impact.
Okay,
But
so
if
I'm
you
going to
make
put
an
here to make it.
impact, you automatically make a difference.
Gotcha. So to make an impact in others' lives, but I think there's another layer here. I think the other layer is here. The crisis question is, you never got an opportunity to answer that question. Do I have what it takes?
Mm-hmm.
But the other piece is, you got removed, or you got fired. Sorry, I keep saying you got
Mm-hmm.
laid off from this position, which
Mm-hmm.
means that you are, and I'm going to put here, I got to put this in all caps. Um, being laid off felt as if you were not, um, uh, not you, but maybe
Valuable,
your right,
valuable.
yeah, like their purpose wasn't being
Mhm.
activated, or something around that, where you're
Right.
just like, and
Yeah.
and the reason why that's important is because you realize in the climax, you're like, hold on, wait a minute, my purpose and my position are two different things. I can still
That's
fulfill my
exactly right.
purpose in a different. Okay, so let me just word this properly though. So being laid off felt as if, and that's why a part of you died, because it was a part of you that associated the position with your purpose, and not
That's
just,
right.
man, I love. Okay, cool. And then what
Yeah.
we have to do is also connect that to you working a job as opposed to being a full-time entrepreneur, because for you, being a full-time
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur would also help to fulfill the purpose of connecting people and building the network.
That's right.
Okay, we got
That's
some
right.
work. We got some work to do.
That's right. You
I'm
got it.
gonna try to
You got it, bro.
keep it quick because we're on live. So I got to do some of this quickly, but still keep it moving. Just for those who are still watching. But being laid off felt as if um, uh, your purpose was also laid off. I'm just gonna put that for now. To
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
put a plug there. But then you realize that your NPO job was not your purpose as much as just a business position. Okay, here we go. Realization. Now, obviously, I remember I told you the climax is like a mini realization. Here is like the big
Hmm.
realization. This is the acknowledgement of where you are now as YB Connects has been birthed in the climax. So
Yeah.
here it is. I guess you
Yeah.
can talk about maybe some of the things that YB Connects is doing now, or how your family is doing now, or how your purpose really how
Yeah.
your purpose has
Yeah.
impacted your your life in positive ways. So this is where, yeah, this is the big realization.
Yeah. So now, so number one is a greater resolve because I've gone through, like, those ebbs and flows. So that was the first major revelation, in terms of being exposed to the YB Connects. But now, knowing that it was correct, like knowing that me, like knowing that situation was the best thing that could have happened, so that I could walk in my purpose, but be not a theory, right?
Mm,
So there have been so many lives that have been touched and impacted as a result of me operating and walking in my purpose.
mm, okay. So here we go.
You
So
know.
you have a greater resolve that being laid off was the best thing that could happen. You're also
Hmm.
um, uh, touching more lives as a
Hmm.
result of operating fully in your purpose.
In my gift. Yep.
Okay, and yep, and gift. Anything else? And here we can obviously you can get more specific too when it comes to maybe particular um, ventures, or even if you want to add numbers, if you want to, for
Hmm.
YB Connects,
Hmm.
what you are able to now do in your purpose through the vehicle of your business.
Yeah, so seeing myself as an entrepreneur and being able to generate revenue, and now put myself in a position to teach others to do the same thing, which is very similar to what, when you go back to the M-Way, that's what that was all about, right? So it's like you learn something and then you teach people to do what you're doing,
Mm,
right? You get results and you teach others to get results. And so now I'm in a position where, even in terms of meeting you, because I operating in my purpose, I was able to create something that added value and made an impact, which prompted which prompted one of those participants who was being impacted to say to you, you may want to consider being a
mm,
part of this cohort. You know what I'm saying? So because
right.
I'm operating in purpose, because I'm doing what I was called to do and operating in my gift, it impacts one who then opens the door to bring on other. It creates the stack the deck initiative, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And
Right.
let's do this last one for because stacking the deck is really about legacy too. Speak on
Right.
now for your family, and I think that would probably be the last
Right.
one. So I have here,
Right.
you have a greater resolve. That
Yeah.
being laid off was the best thing that could happen because you're now touching more lives as a result of operating fully in your
Hmm.
purpose and gift, being able to teach others to be the revenue generating entrepreneur
Yeah.
that you have now become, which is instilling legacy for
That's right.
others. Now let's hit on
Right.
instilling legacy within your own family.
Yeah, and absolutely, and being the father that I didn't have,
Mm,
right? So not fully being destroyed by not having my father, but understanding that the compassion that was birthed as a result of not having my father, I now can pour into my children.
mm,
Like I'm not a hard man because I didn't have my father, right? I had a variety of situations, challenges, struggles that I was able to learn how to put into perspective. So now I can teach that to my daughters,
yeah,
while also
yeah,
being present, in their lives, and help and assist them to overcome their struggles,
mm,
and
mm,
give them the thing that has helped me through, and that's that resolve, that mental toughness. Not to be tough or hard, but to
mm,
realize that your situations are either going to make you or they're going to break you. If you choose to let them break you, I guess that's what, because even with the layoff, I could have let that break me, but I didn't. What did I do? I prayed and I tapped into a higher power. You feel me? And so now I can teach that based on my experience, not based on the theory, not based on what I got out of a book.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. YB, I think we've got it. Here's what I'm gonna do. Just for the sake of time, because I know that there's some stuff here in the midpoint that I think we gotta tweak, but I think we've got what we need in order to make it work. 5 lessons. Now, here's what we can either do. I can go through the entire story arc so that you can pull out the 5, but if you've got the 5 already based on the purpose story, let me know and we could dive right into it. Some people, they want to hear,
Yeah,
what
no,
we've
I got
gone
it.
through
I
in the
got
last
it.
hour. Okay,
Yeah, I got
cool.
it.
So
I
whenever you're
got
ready,
it.
you're gonna
Yeah.
zoom in.
Yeah.
All right. Principle
Yeah.
number 1.
First life lesson. Principle number 1 is is let your gift find your gift and let it make room for you. Right? Find your gift, discover your gift, and let your gift make room for you. Okay, that's a principle. Right?
Nice.
Um,
Number 2.
yeah. So once you find your gift, number 2 is trust in your ability to win.
Cool. I like that.
Trust in your ability to win.
Yeah.
Right. Uh, Number 3 is learn from your failures. Right. Learn from your failures.
Nice.
Number 4 is leverage your mentors
Mm-hmm.
and your coaches. I put mentors in your coaches. So leverage your mentors and your coaches. And then the last one is never give up. Or better word, never give up, keep the faith.
Okay. Now okay. Those are 2. Okay. I'll work it out because those are technically 2. Those are 2 right there.
They are
What
two. They are two.
what is
They are
what is
two.
perseverance? And
But
the other
what it is, they're two. They're two, but they're intertwined because when you keep the faith, you won't give up.
Okay, so how about we do this? Keep the faith in order to keep going. How does that sound?
I love it. I love it. Yep, I love it. I
Okay,
love it.
cool.
I'm
All right,
telling you,
YB. So
you got some powerful. You got something powerful in this, man.
your story is powerful. We're about to go through it right now, actually. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to take us to full screen here because people ain't gonna be able to read all of that anyway. Now, as I'm reading YB, if there's anything that is out of order or not accurate, make a verbal cue and let me
Mm-hmm.
know because I won't be able to see you, but I'll be able to hear you so that you can say, "Hold on, wait a minute, this time frame or this name or whatever needs to be corrected." I'll stop, correct it, and then we'll keep going. All right, everyone, this is YB's purpose story. Now, once again, there are many different versions of this. And so the version that we have done today is dealing a lot with legacy. And well, you're going to find out yourself. As a matter of fact, YB, if I'm finishing this and you want to change one of your life applications to legacy, cool. If not, that's okay too. They'll get it in the story regardless. But I was just wondering whether or not that might be one of the life applications that you wanted to add there. But if not, it's in the story itself. It's really one of the common themes. All right, everyone. So Robert T. YB Youngblood was born in the Bronx. He's a New York native from a single parent home, and his father died at 2 years old. Now, he lacked the identity because of not having a father, and this also created the ability for him to empathize with other people's situations. Now, that's not normally common, guys. Usually it's the opposite. Empathy isn't there, but hardness. However, for YB, the gift was activated because of a lack of a father, and that's very special. So in high school, he discovered the gift of compassion, and people with pain and challenges were able to give him the ability to operate like a treasure chest, is what he calls it, where people would be able to confide in him. And so he began building trust with people, and switching over, though, what his mother did during his formative years was put him in environments where positive men were. And so the Boy Scouts of America, we call it scouting for short, is where he learned core principles as a scout. So values, the laws, including being trustworthy, loyal, friendly, kind, obedient, brave, clean, reverent, etc. Being exposed to men who operated with character and integrity was very important. But here's another thing that happened. He went to Catholic school between the 4th and the 12th grade, and he was continuing to be exposed to these values of good morals, of spirituality, and the scouting happened during his middle and high school years. Why is that important? Because I said it's his formative years. It's where he's being shaped and molded. So look at this diversity. He had a Jewish scoutmaster. He was in a Catholic prep school. He went to a Baptist church, and then later exposed in the HBCU to the Nation of Islam, exposed, not adopted, but these helped him to fortify a diverse yet strong spiritual base and values that also filled the gap of the father figure that he didn't have. This also fed into YB's inquisitive nature as a child. Guys, that's his backstory, okay? So now you get an understanding of where YB is coming from. Here's the catalyst. The summer before college in '96, he was denied to return to an organization that provided him an internship the year before, because he was there previously, because he received a scholarship to Virginia University and he had to leave sooner than expected. So eventually, he finds another route that leads to something greater than I lost. That's what he says. What is that thing? Well, he started as a street messenger in Manhattan, and one day, while delivering a package to 160 Varick Street, which was the headquarters of Def Jam, he met the director of marketing, Rob Love, who offered an internship to be a part of the street team. And he called, this is crazy, y'all. Y'all don't do this unless you, well, you know what? Live your lives. What Ryby did was he called the current courier and he quit his job over the phone because he saw this greater opportunity with Def Jam. And so he discovered, while working this internship, the gift of promotion, and it took this internship experience. He took this internship experience to Virginia University and had a greater sense of awareness of his promotion gift. So he instantly became, quote unquote, the man on campus because of all of the products from the internship, music tapes, posters, etc. They called him Radio Rob. I love that. Now, there's this lady by the name of Tabitha from Lynchburg, Virginia, who debated on the validity of YB's last name, Youngblood. It's like, there's no way that your name could be called Youngblood. So what she settled on was calling him YB. And that's where the name YB was born. Why is that interesting? Well, that's important because as we move now to the big event, he's becoming a member, where he became a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha organization, and he overcame a major obstacle while in this organization, which tested his resolve, and he had this understanding or this revelation that for every setback, there's an opportunity to come back. Here is where he realized that he started to transition using the name YB. It was no longer just YB, but YB the promoter. And then from YB the promoter to YB the alpha. And his identity was now tied to a major organization. However, he realized that alpha doesn't make you. You make alpha. So spring of 2000, he enters an awesome organization, which was Alpha Phi Alpha. However, there's a setback that occurs because at the end of 2000, he was signing withdrawal papers to leave college. This is the big event, guys. Signing these withdrawal papers to leave college because of financial, academic, and other challenges prompted him to move back home early, or really to move back home unexpectedly. And while at home, he received a call from a legendary Alpha brother who offered him the opportunity to learn more about a business in direct sales or multi-level marketing, which was Amway, later then called Quickstar. And during a presentation, now I don't know if the presentation was boring or not, but it wasn't convincing enough. However, he did remember one last point, the last reason to be in business for yourself, which was to leave a legacy. So, if anything that this presentation gave him, it was the inspiration to realize, hold on, it hit him like a ton of bricks because his father didn't leave him a legacy. And so, business is what would allow YB to now be a promoter and to leave a legacy. We didn't really touch on this much, but 9/11 also had occurred immediately after, right? So after him leaving school, then, the next year, 9/11 hits. And so there's a lot that's happening during the season of changes and these milestones that's happening in YB's life. But after 9/11, after leaving school, he went back to school in 2002. It's 18 months later with different mentality because of the quick start opportunity, which the first time it lasted 6 months. Now, why is that important? Because this is the midpoint, guys. When he went back to VU, he went back with a deep resolve. This is the point of no return, people. So sometimes we think that the deep resolve has to be, I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur and I'm going to quit everything. Nah, in this case, it was a deep resolve to go back to what he was committed to do. Not every commitment or deep resolve, and I just want to put this plug here, people, for those of us that are understanding, especially for a purpose story, it's not to head off into the unknown. Sometimes it's to go back to what's already familiar, but you need to master it or you need to finish it. And this is what YB's was. So he goes back to VU, Virginia University, with a deep resolve, and he gave himself a timeline to finish school. So now, he goes from YB to YB the promoter, to YB the alpha, to now the peace and blessings guy, because he's back on campus with a different mindset, guys. He has a greater understanding of sales, relationships, communication, and a desire to own something. So there's still this entrepreneurial desire to build his own business. In 2004, he finishes college. Midpoint is almost complete. He finishes college. However, after graduation, he's like, okay, well, what do? I don't really have any plans set. Well, a frat brother who was reaching out to him multiple times before reaches out to him again. I think this is the third time, and shares the opportunity to work with him at Quickstar. Now you're like, well, didn't he already leave quick? Yes, he did. Sometimes opportunities will come back around again, and it's the same opportunity. And that's what happens in YB's case. And now he's not just though interested in the MLM, in the direct sales component of it. He's interested in the relationships. He's interested in the mentorship opportunity that this frat brother is going to provide. He's interested in seeing the team that was also invited. He didn't see a team before, and the first time he was invited to become a part of the Quick Start community. This time he sees a structure. He sees people. He sees people who are not just hustling to get to the top. He sees people synergistically working together. And so he didn't see that before. Not only that, but he eventually ends up starting his own team, which he still has to this day, guys. So from 2004 till now, he still has. We're talking about commitment, deep, point of no return. That's a whole story for another day, guys. But he still has it to this day. Now, he had also a desire, though, to be a full-time entrepreneur. But this was challenged by an individual who told him, "Now you need to get a job instead." And so with that challenge and frustration, he ends up working for, full circle, Boy Scouts of America, the same organization that he got his values and the value as a young man, as he is now working for them. Full circle, guys, in a sales position. And he discovered at this time LinkedIn as a CRM, a customer relationship management tool that enables them to start building a network. Now, he's not just building this, obviously, for Boy Scouts, but he's now also able to leverage this for Quickstar. That's for another story. But here's where the crisis comes in. He's working for Boy Scouts, right? For the Scouts for about 5 years, and he transitions from the Scouts in 2009 to an undisclosed NPO that deals with dropout prevention. So it's a dropout prevention organization beginning in 2009. Listen, it played a dual role, and this is so key, guys, because as he's now transitioning to a place, an organization that instilled core values in him when he was a kid, now he's able to help other people to prevent the same, not necessarily mistakes, but hardships that he had that forced him to leave school. So he is in this NPO, and two roles. He's helping first-year college students transition to college. So he was like their guide, but then he's also helping current high school students connect them to housing, tutors, food. In other words, he's supporting students so that they wouldn't have to drop out of high school or leave their first year in college. So this NPO was giving him this sense of purpose. It was starting to reveal to him what he was doing. And also during this time, he was married and had 2 kids. So as you can see, the purpose is flourishing. Legacy is starting to be built. But then in 2012, he gets laid off with a 30-day notice. The crisis is this, guys. As he felt rejected and as he felt dejected, the crisis is that there was another form of loss that happened after being laid off. A part of YB died because he wasn't able to continue to make an impact for other people. Being laid off felt as if his purpose was also laid off. So the crisis question is this. He didn't get to answer the crisis question. That's the crisis. So he hadn't had an opportunity to answer this question, which is, do I have what it takes to use what I've been given to make an impact in others' lives? He felt as if he was yet again stripped from the opportunity to do that. Doing Quick Start, he was ready to be a full-time entrepreneur. It switched, and he was now having to work work in corporate America. Well, technically it wasn't corporate, but work for an NPO. And now he's working for an NPO and he's finding his groove again, and then it switches again. And so it's like these moments of resets and interruptions is preventing him from really being able to fully realize, am I doing purposeful work? Am I living out my true purpose? Well, he came to the realization, guys, this is the climax. He comes to the realization that the NPO job was not his purpose as much as a business position that was no longer needed. So he stopped taking the layoff personally. It was really position versus the person, and he was able to divorce the two. He was able to separate the two, and in that understanding, he now prays to God that He would deposit in him, that God would deposit in him something that would give YB to live for him while utilizing his talents to live for others. So YB Connects was born. YB, obviously from the VU connection, and then connects because of the gift that he has to connect other people. So he started to use LinkedIn as the tool from his previous NPO experience. All of these things are now coming together to now the major realization, which is he has a greater resolve that being laid off was the best thing that could have ever happened to him, because he's now touching even more lives as a result of operating fully in his purpose and his gift. Also, being able to teach others to be the revenue generating entrepreneur that he has now become gives him the opportunity to instill legacy for others. And speaking of legacy, for his own family, he is now able to be the father that he didn't have. Understanding that the compassion that was birthed from not having a father is now taught and passed down to his own daughters, giving them also resolve and this mental toughness to help them to understand that situations can either make or break them if they let it. Guys, life applications here. Principle number 1, find your gift and let it make room for you. Number 2, trust in your ability to win. Number 3, learn from your failures. Number 4, leverage your mentors and your coaches. And number 5, keep the faith in order to keep going. YB, that is your purpose story. Well, at least a version of it.
Yeah. It sounded like a movie when you're reading it. It sounded like a movie.
Life is a movie, man. I maybe my vision, maybe my mission in life is to get people to understand that your life is like a movie. It's so cinematic. All you need is sometimes YB, all we need is a soundtrack in the background when you're making certain decisions, and I'll just get us.
I'm gonna be real. Like you're like Spike Lee, bro. Like you're the director. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you was able to pull and I'm like, is that me you talking about, man? Who was that you talking about?
All you, brother.
I know it's the words that came out of my mouth, but you directed it, you know. And so, yeah, you're talented, brother, man. Talented.
I appreciate that, YB. Listen, before we go, let people know where they can connect with you. So I have here, it's ybconnects.com. But anything else that you want them to know about you, what you're working on, what you're doing, I'm just going to drop it right in here.
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn obviously is the platform where I reside. I would say definitely find me on LinkedIn. I think the one thing that I'm most excited about is the launch of the YB Connects Referral Institute. Actually, it's Rob YB Youngblood. So you don't put the Robert Rob in there.
There you go.
The only people that call me Robert are elders in their 80s and law enforcement.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I say LinkedIn is there, but the one thing I'm excited about is the LinkedIn the YB Connects Referral Institute.
Okay.
Where now I have an organization that I can provide training to entrepreneurs who struggle when it comes to networking. YB Connects is one word.
Okay,
YB
right.
Connects, one word. Yeah. So being able to work with individuals on their networking skills, on their prospecting skills, and on their revenue generation skills as well.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And I'm excited about that one too. The YB Connects Referral Institute.
Yeah.
As you were
Yeah,
rolling
because
that
under
out.
there is my first main program, which is the LinkedIn Mastery Program. So
Mhm.
that's a coaching program, a group coaching program where I can go all in teaching participants how to level up on LinkedIn so that they can turn connections into cash flow
Mm,
and transform their LinkedIn profile into a powerful prospect magnet. So
I
therefore,
love it.
they can make a greater impact based on using their gifts to turn their gifts into a revenue generator.
Hey, you probably have heard this. You've got a way with words. You may be the connector and the promoter, but you definitely have a way with words too. When I see it, when I smell it, I know it. I will affirm it. You got the gift, sir. You definitely got the gift. I love it.
I receive.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, everyone, if you were just tuning in, you just caught the end of this thing. You got to go back and you got to watch and just experience YB's purpose story, how it is that he became the connector, especially the expert on LinkedIn, and how he's able to transform other people's lives because of his own experiences. Go back and watch this thing. I really believe that it's going to transform some of your lives, if not all of your lives, or at least take one thing away from it, because little do we know that there usually are patterns and there usually are experiences that are not far off from each other. Sometimes you think that you're the only
Mhm.
person that have gone through something. You're the only person that had to leave school because of challenges, or you had to, leave a program or got laid off, whatever the case is. But we have once again, guys, we have once again have shown you that this is now yet another person, Rob YB Youngblood, another individual who has overcome those odds and was able to, with a family in the thick of those challenges, overcome it, and now be able to give back because of what he has learned and what has been instilled or deposited in him by the good grace of God. Listen, guys, I'm excited. YB, we about to sign off on this thing. We'll stay on for like a few more minutes, but for all y'all that are watching, we out of here. Y'all be blessed.